Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. Kate Briscoe is the co-founder of Legal Beagles, the UK's most popular free legal advice forum that helps around 1.7 million consumers and small businesses each year with legal problems. Kate's a lawyer by background and a respected consumer rights advocate and consumer litigator. And she started the free Legal Beagles forum around 11 years ago with her business partner Sharon, so it's been going for a while. But around 4 years ago, they decided to start exploring innovative ways to turn it into a commercial business. They've since built Just Beagle, which is a legal services comparison website, and they're currently exploring how they can commercialize the data that sits behind the Legal Beagles forum through artificial intelligence applications. Now, in the last few years, Kate has secured just shy of £1 million in investment finance to help the business scale. And today we're going to be hearing all about Kate's journey to raise this money, the highs, the lows, the challenges, and Kate's top tips for success. So welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Julia.
Tell us more about Legal Beagles. How did you come up with the idea for this free legal forum?
As always, it was born through necessity, as most businesses and good ideas often are. I was volunteering online to help with my training in law. I was interested in family law, and so I was working on cases in a sort of Mackenzie friend type capacity, just to build up my experience. And I quickly discovered that a lot of online forums are frankly quite dangerous places for the average consumer. And Sharon and I had become friends as co-volunteers on another legal forum. And we thought, we can do this better, and we can make it safer, and we can make it, work in a way that the consumers are really collaborating rather than just being told what to do. So that's why we forged and formed Legal Beagles as our sort of law training project. Literally, that's what it was back then. And within 6 months of us starting the forum, we were flooded. We had volunteers appearing. We had a patron came on board who really admired our spirit and how we were approaching the problem. And, we allowed people to be grown up, but we also applied the principles of legal practice. So we didn't allow daft legal arguments, crazy testing with consumers. We were very sort of strict and middle of the road and careful in how we did things. And that's literally how Beagles was born. And unfortunately, the credit crunch happened around the time we founded. So there was an absolute avalanche of people needing help. So that's where the traffic came from, and that's where the core idea came from. And for the first 7 years, we fitted it in around our full-time jobs, our children, our lives. And then when we got to year 7, the volume of traffic had got up, well above 1 million unique hits a year. And that's when we realized, we've got to start looking at how we can self-fund this forum. And it wasn't expensive to run, but also how we could actually use this traffic in this very valuable legal vertical market to offer consumers new services and help commercialize it ethically. So that's the foundation of where we came from.
Amazing. So it's started as kind of a side hustle. I mean, did you ever expect it to be such a huge proposition when you started it?
No, I was literally so focused on training and completing my training in law. I just wanted a training contract with a law firm, which lawyers know are as rare as hen's teeth. They really are very, very hard to get. And so I had no idea that the forum would eventually be the thing that got me my training contract in law. It was extremely ironic and rather wonderful, actually, that all the goodness we poured into Legal Beagles came back upon us and benefited our careers, and how we're able to practice law now and actually make a difference. So, it's been a wonderful realization that Legal Beagles has opened all of those doors.
That's amazing. So in those early days, then you didn't need investment because you were keeping the costs quite low, running it as a side hustle.
Yeah, literally. I mean, had a patron who was very generous and, look after things. I mean, one of the things we did spend money on in the early days was good legal advice and making sure that we ourselves weren't, sort of making mistakes fundamentally. We partnered with barristers, we partnered with regulators, we made our presence felt, but we were also very, very careful about the steps we took because legal is a highly regulated industry. You do have to be very cautious, and the fact that some of us were in legal practice actually made it more pressure, because that meant that literally the legal regulator could have come and said, shut it down, that you can't do this, and they never have. Quite the opposite, they've been incredibly supportive. So that was reassuring that we were on the right path.
So let's talk then about the investment journey that you went on. So 4 years ago you decided that you were going to take on some funding to be able to scale the business. So you've done two separate rounds, haven't you? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's talk about the first round that you did, which was where you raised £220,000. Tell us about that.
That round came about at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, around the time we were launching the Just Beagle MVP. And it was an odd round because it actually came on the back of us declining the possibility of actually selling the forum. Because when we started this journey, we were a little bit unimaginative. We thought that, I don't think we were particularly wise on the investment world, and we very quickly attracted interest from private equity firms. We had one of the big 4 accountancy firms offered to come in with us. So we knew we had something pretty special the moment we did start exploring it. But ultimately that little journey, which only took, I think, 6 months, to decide to decline those offers and partnerships and acquisitions. That was then the springboard of, okay, right, if we're going to do this ourselves, if these big companies think we can do so great, then we can do better and we'll make it our way. Because every time we worked with one of these companies, we just kept hitting obstacles of principles and ethics and values. So yeah, the first investment round was deliberately pitched towards angel investors. We were working with some mentors in London through our contacts, and they just literally put the word out to their friends. It was as simple as that. Except it wasn't, of course, because you do have to kiss a lot of frogs and answer a lot of daft questions, and it was a real sort of, in some ways we were really lucky because we met our lead investor fairly quickly, and he and she are a husband and wife couple. His wife Alicia is our lead investor and has been absolutely brilliant, but her husband David has become an advisor and a mentor. So we got real value from that investment because that mentoring has continued throughout and followed on with investment as well.
I'm getting that lead investor is so critical, isn't it, to help you secure further investment?
Yeah.
What were the big challenges around getting that lead investment, would you say?
Finding someone who could see my belief and passion and see that we had a big journey to go on and we were going to change a big industry, but that we were the people to do it. And sometimes as a woman in particular, when you're sort of standing there talking about making these enormous changes to a really old-fashioned market, yeah, I mean, that was during the time when I had, I think, a comment from another investor, because I was actually pregnant when this was all happening. And, I can remember this chap, looking at me and saying, good God, female investor, nightmare, pregnant female investor, bloody nightmare. What am I going to do with you? That's always stuck in my mind, as I felt like I was almost seen as if I was handicapped.
Did they actually say something, or did you just feel that sentiment?
Well, that sentence was said to me about the female founder nightmare, pregnant female bloody nightmare. That was really hard. My actual response to the guy was, "Did you just say that out loud?"
Oh my God! Yeah, that's the thing. In the corporate world, no one would ever dare say that, would they? I think.
I know.
People get away with all sorts.
They certainly do. Yes, that's the thing that's quite interesting, because again, my background was sort of legal, local government, so I've not really been in this environment before, and I was a little bit principled and a little bit shocked at some of the stuff that I came across. But overall, yes, once we found that lead investor, it was about belief, and it was getting someone who actually had a really smart investment mind, but also had a real heart, and who actively seeks female founders, because he and she have researched really thoroughly how the returns work, how much security and safety comes with that investment. So yeah, it did feel very much like a kind of call out to come and back us, because we are a female-led team, and we tried very hard throughout to push that as a positive, because the loyalty and strength it's created in our team is I've never seen a team like ours. We are all genuinely very close and supportive of each other.
I love I love the fact that you've actually really kind of owned that and shown that as a positive, which is, I think, a lot of female entrepreneurs. I mean, I get asked questions like, well, should I find a male co-founder, so that I can get investment? I'm like, no, absolutely not. So you really owned that, didn't you, Kate?
Yeah, I was quite fierce about it, actually. I mean, I did have a situation last year, even with our more recent round, where a female actually asked me to put a male senior person in our pitch deck. And we do have one, but it felt a little bit contrived, and yeah, that was odd to encounter that some investors would see an all-female team as a negative, and words like, oh, you need balance, which I found hilariously ironic. Because if we need balance, then my goodness, then there's a whole lot of male teams out there that are lacking balance.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely I think that relationship with your lead investor has to be right. I cannot begin to imagine how painful and unpleasant this journey would be if you had a negative relationship or a suspicious or hostile relationship with your lead investors. Having now worked with investors for a couple of years, I know that you have to have a really good relationship with them, especially those you keep close.
So you had that lead investor, and then how many other investors came in on that initial round with them?
So just 2 or 3 others who were sort of family and friends contact, that you have to shake that tree. Yeah. But our lead investor really did lead the round completely. It was almost entirely them. So yeah, amazing. So that was great, because that then got us off to a start with getting the MVP transformed into a full build.
Fantastic. So an MVP, just for the listeners, is minimum viable product, just in case that's not a familiar term.
Yeah. I've been doing this too long. I remember when I first started, I remember someone saying EBITDA to me, and I was like, huh? So you learn to go away with people fast.
So you had that initial round to get you off the ground, and then how long was it then before you went out for your second round? And I really want to hear about how that went.
Yeah. Nearly a year it was before we started the second round. That round did take a long time. It took nearly a year to close that round.
Wow, that's quite a long time. So you were going out to raise, was it 750 you wanted?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us, what were your initial thoughts about, where you were going to get that money from?
We did find, a group of half a dozen or so VCs, and we actively pursued them. I think the best outcome I had from that was I did an office hours pitch event for Passion Capital, and that then led to a meeting with the full Passion Capital team, and then a very lengthy 2-hour plus meeting alone with Eileen, which was fantastic. She's got an amazing mind and thought processes. But unfortunately it didn't convert. They actually thought we were a little bit too far ahead for them. They were really for seed only, and they felt we had gone past that point.
That's very interesting, because I guess at that time, and still it's a free forum, so your traction was more about audience rather than revenue, but yet they thought we were too far ahead.
Yeah, she advised us not to drop our value too far to fit that. It was a bit of a conflict, but yeah, and that was another frustration. To one company, to a VC, you're too early; to another company, you're too late. So yeah, my colleague and I used to leave every meeting going, damn.
So frustrating.
VCs.
So frustrating. But it's about finding the fit. It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with your business. It's just about
exactly. And I think also, the VC community has had quite a lot of coverage in the last couple of years for less than desirable attitudes, shall we say. And yeah, I definitely had no doubt, having gone through that process, that I think we did well to get meetings. I think people spend all day, every day just messaging, trying to attract the attention of VCs. And I think I've kind of ended up with the opinion of, they're a little overhyped. and they invest pretty rarely, maybe 4 or 5 a year. So your chances of actually succeeding, sometimes it helps psychologically to set the bar low in your expectations of what's going to happen in a meeting, because that's that really does call to whole managing your stress levels. If you just feel happy you got the meeting and just go in there and try and shine, that's the best you can do.
That is great advice, actually. And I think it can be very frustrating if you think, I've had 10 meetings and I've had nothing but no's. That is very normal. I'm not suggesting that you have 100 meetings, because, as you say, your stress levels will be unbelievably high. But the ratio of pitch applications to meetings to investment is very, very stacked against you.
Totally. But everyone, let alone female-led businesses, which we've all seen the stats on. So emotionally, if you get a VC meeting, feel chuffed with yourself and your team that you've got the meeting, because just getting their attention is half the battle. Definitely, I really enjoyed office hours pitch events. I thought they were hilarious, good fun, because I quite like speed dating. It's kind of it's actually a little bit easier in some way, because you have a slightly WTF attitude to it. You feel like, okay, let's just go for it, have a bit of fun, and somehow, rather than having to stand up and do a formal pitch, it's a little less intimidating, and you're usually sitting one-to-one with someone, and you can be a little bit more yourself. So
I think it's interesting you talk about it being fun. I mean, when you were in that phase of raising money, some entrepreneurs are really pushing it to the wire in terms of needing that money, and that creates this feeling of kind of desperation, and then it becomes very hard to have fun.
Been there, totally.
Were you at a point where you really, really needed that funding, or were you a little bit more relaxed about it?
Yeah, it didn't take long at all to get through the first investment when you're building products like we are. So I started the round literally really on not the best, sort of not enough money in the bank to take us through the whole investment raise. So it effectively became a drip round, because we were pulling in some money early, and it was stressful. I mean, I myself, there were certainly days where I would not have called it fun. I would have just called it exhausting, unrewarding, and frustrating. And I noticed, even after really good days, everything was really cool, I noticed something really interesting, that the next day you tended to have a real low, and you'd feel very tired if you put all this energy into the pitch day or whatever you've done. And the bigger the pitch event, the worse the feeling the next day. And I must admit, I started noticing that, thankfully. And so I started kind of like deliberately being kind of kind to myself the next day, to make sure that the emotional highs and lows were manageable and predictable.
That's very smart, actually. I mean, because it is a roller coaster, and it is a performance. It sucks everything out of you. But the fact that you actually then recognize that and put strategies in place to deal with that is brilliant. That's great advice.
Yeah, it was just so predictable. You could see it happen every time, and it didn't take me long to spot the pattern. And again, also you have to recognize the magnitude of what you're trying to do. You are asking people, if you went stood out on the street and asked people to give you money, it is sometimes, it does feel as vulnerable as that. And so any money you can raise, every pound that goes into the bank, you feel really proud of yourself. It's a great justification. It's a great validation of what you're trying to build.
So you tried VCs at first, and then decided that wasn't going to be the route for you. So then what happened then in terms of raising that round?
So then we went into a phase of intensively meeting with angel investors. This was the first half of 2017, the first quarter of 2017. So we were traveling all over the place, trying to attend investor meetups. Couple of rules I had about that. I didn't go to events where I had to pay a lot of money to be there, or if it was a paid event, I was very selective about what it would be. I learned that if you were canny, you could get invited to lots of events and not have to pay, because you could burn through cash very quickly that way. Network, because leads came from the strangest of sources. And one of them that really proved useful for us, because we'd met this, we had already our lead investor on board, he'd already followed on in this new round. And then we had his network also came in, which was great. So we started to build more people. But then this ultra high net worth investor came on board, and he really transformed the round in a very negative way, in that he initially wanted to put literally the whole round, put up the money, but he dictated a lower valuation. So we had to weigh up, oh, we've got all the money, but a little bit lower money. And so we thought, okay, he seems really nice. We'll go with it. And it was a Jekyll and Hyde situation, unfortunately, that we then very, very quickly learned that although a very wise chap, and probably lots we could have learnt, that the way in which the advice was delivered, the support was offered, was highly patronising, highly controlling. And doesn't matter if someone is telling you things that are full of wisdom. If you feel uncomfortable sitting there, if you feel like you're 5 years old, run.
Yeah.
Not what you, because you wouldn't be working with this person for the rest of your business life. It's not something where you have to just get off the phone or get off the pitch or get out of the room. It's going to be there all the time. And your investors can be very scary people if you are not doing well, or if things don't go quite to plan. So you absolutely must have that comfort, and that you can be honest, and because otherwise it will cause more problems. So unfortunately that was very stressful, because that brought the value of the round down. It kicked off certain investors, and then he turned out not to be suited, and it didn't work. So we were left, you know, that was a low point of the whole situation. I felt after the VCs, and although we'd taken on some investment, it just felt like a mess at that point. And
but on the other hand, at least you had flagged that before the deal was done.
Oh, thank God.
After the deal had been done, that would have been a far worse situation, Kate.
I've heard of people who've given the money back in situations like that where it's happened, and it was one of those we actually did talk about, that had that happened, what would we have done, and we were all unanimous we'd have given it back. But it's not a cool situation you want to get yourself into. So that's the other thing for other startups and founders to remember, is it's not a one-way interview where your investor is trying to find out if you're investable. For God's sake, no matter how desperate you get, and I was desperate then, and I really did need that money, and the strength we had to find deep down to go, no, was considerable. But yeah, phew, thank God.
So you managed to get some angel investor interest on that second round, and then you decided to go to Syndicate Room, which is a crowdfunding website, not a kind of public crowdfunding website, but nonetheless a crowdfunding website, which is really interesting. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah. Well, loads of people throughout the investment journey had been saying to us, oh, you're a community, you should crowdfund. And I had to keep politely explaining them that because we were a legal assistance community, it was a bit like, you know, Samaritans going out to their homeless people and asking for money. It wasn't an ethical fit to do that. When someone's worried about whether they're going to lose custody of their kids, they don't particularly want you shaking a tin in their face, really, metaphorically or digitally. So we never used the forum to promote our fundraising, which to some people, they were like, really? Are you a bit dim? And I was like, no, you have to understand our world. We have to respect these people, and we can't do that. So, but I love the idea of crowdfunding, but that's what ruled out being able to use any of the public crowdfunding sites. And so we found loads of reading and research on crowdfunding and hybrid crowdfunds, where it was like a sort of private investor club. And of those, I quickly discovered Syndicate Room was very much regarded as the premier one. And then my competitive instinct kicked in, because I'd heard that they were very difficult to pass their due diligence checks, and they were very demanding and meticulous. And boy, oh boy, they were really, really meticulous. They put my colleague Pam through many, many hoops of due diligence. So actually passing all those checks and getting through their processes was a real achievement in itself, because they have, I think, a 74% success rate on fundraising for anything that goes on their platform, which is amazing. So we knew the moment we got on there, we were like, you know, we had to raise, I think we had around 300-400 to close the round. All the while, other investors kept appearing, so actually that was constantly reducing. And pretty much as soon as we went on the platform with Syndicate Room, they also offered us to be part of Fund 28. which is 28 businesses in the year that they invest in that they believe are going to be high growth. And they have a bar that you have to get to, which I think in our situation was £80,000 of crowd from their investors raised. They would then match it. So we actually got through our round with Syndicate Room really quite fast. I think we closed slightly early. So I loved their setup. I liked the way they ran the company. I liked the professionalism. We did a proper little digital interview with a green screen, and it was made to look like a newsroom. And yeah, it's just nice. They were really smart. I've got a lot of admiration for Syndicate Room. I think they've really got a nice model there. It's approachable. Having said that, I mean, people applying and then getting rejected, there must be large volumes of that. So it's nice to have had the privilege of seeing the inside track of Syndicate Room, and I can highly recommend it.
And that due diligence process, as you say, is really, really critical. And the fact that they do that before you go on the platform, it actually gives investors that security that you have been fully vetted and that the platform believes in you. Yeah.
It definitely makes a difference, I think, because of the outcomes and the success rates of Syndicate Room's former investments. They've got a very strong Cambridge and scientific connection as well. So they've got really, really quality investors in their membership. There's over 30,000 HNWs on Syndicate Room, which is really, I mean, I can't think of a similar size investment group. So I really liked it. And then the other thing we did to close around was we took part in an investment pitching event in Guernsey, just an introduction through a network, and that was great because that was competing against 5 other startups, 17 investors sitting at a hotel, evening pitch over dinner, and we won that event, and that was a real high point as well because one of the other businesses was really, really good. But yeah, we won and we got loads of investment from that. So I think we closed eventually in beginning of October 2017. So yeah, about just on 10 months start to finish.
Yeah. a lot of hard work, I guess. And you mentioned before, I mean, it is a very stressful process. What other things did you do to help you manage your stress during that time?
Prosecco.
Well, why not?
I mean, sometimes that was helpful, but no, I mean, I think trying to be mega organized, trying to be super careful with your diary. I'm a mum of 2, so I had to fit everything around I mean, obviously I have childcare and assistance, and I have a well-tamed husband and all of that, but it definitely, the problem with the pitching journey and the investment journey is it's unpredictable. You don't know whether you're going to need to get on a train to Manchester tomorrow, get on a plane to America, get on a plane to Guernsey. You kind of got to be really, really flexible. And I found a sort of technique of accepting on some deeper level that I was in a phase of chaos in my life that was essential, that I had to run through, and that all of my normal sort of stabilizing points and expectations about how my day would go, I had to shake those off and get used to getting out of my comfort zone, being up at strange hours, traveling, changing pitch decks constantly. That became my most hated task. But we were very pernickety. Every pitch deck got customized to the pitch situation, because true to form, they were never the same. You always had to change it slightly. So I found that, yes, and there's no doubt, I look back on those 10 months as a period of intense stress and worry and self-doubt. But again, a bit like I said earlier with the whole approach to pitching is just telling yourself that it would be weird if this was relaxing or easy. It's not meant to be. You choose to go into this tunnel. You go into it with eyes open, and you have to tell yourself, look, this isn't going to be fun. This isn't going to be enjoyable. This is going to be wrinkle-inducing, sleep-wrecking, snapping at husbanding type 10 months of your life. But if you're strong enough, and if you're a parent and you're coping with parenthood, you can do this.
I mean, because what's happening during that process is the tires of your business are constantly being kicked by loads of other people externally, and so if you can, once you've got through that, the robustness of your business strategy and your confidence that you really do have something, I think then becomes much, much stronger.
It does, but reality also bites, that you get so focused on closing the round that you don't then realise what lies beyond. And I'm sure many other entrepreneurs will find this, that you have a sort of slightly stunned, oh, we've done it, oh my god, now what? That's quite a surreal one to get used to. It was like going out of a door. It was like I'd spent 10 months wandering through a hellish department store. Suddenly I found the door out, and I'm suddenly standing on Oxford Street going, wow, what the hell was that? It was really odd actually finishing the round, and it was kind of in the lead up to Christmas, and we had the launch formal of the website, and for us actually very quickly after we closed the round, launched Just Beagle, our current work that we're now doing on AI and machine learning started like only 12 weeks after we closed the round, and actually is completely not what we said we were going to do in our pitch deck. But so again, there's that sort of flexibility and adaptability that you get to close around, you obviously achieve your core goals, but my word, you have to keep an open mind about what's then going to happen next with your business, because it won't be what you think.
That's right, and securing that investment round isn't the answer to all your problems. It's probably the start of the next level of problems, isn't it?
All sorts of new stresses, and it's different from investment raising, definitely. But again, I just want to kind of let other entrepreneurs know, especially women entrepreneurs, that it's not like you get to this wonderful golden cloud where you suddenly feel all warm and safe and great. It's actually, you have to hit the ground running and still kind of maintain that same sharpness of how you were being during the pitching process, and now turn it into making that money work as best you can, go as far as it can. I'm also a great fan of a comedy series called Silicon Valley, which has been running, I think it's been 4 seasons now, and it's matched my own investment journey and entrepreneur journey, and I love some of the humour in that, because sometimes I've been watching it like, oh my god, that's too close to what I'm physically going through now, but it is hilarious, and it also makes you laugh at certain things,
You've got to laugh, haven't you? If you don't laugh, you're going to collapse into a pool of tears.
Yeah. Well, everyone who knows me knows that I use humour to diffuse tension, to express myself, and especially in such a dull industry as legal. I think, much as I love my industry, it has got a bad sort of reputation in terms of not being particularly interesting. So, again, that's all part of, this is a lovely part of it, is don't be afraid to be yourself, because you can't fake it forever. A couple of times I saw something very interesting in pitching, that when I actually, choosing my audience carefully, but when I actually allowed myself to show a little bit of vulnerability, it actually created better engagement. So that was interesting, because we do get taught that as female entrepreneurs in particular, we have to be almost robotically perfect. Well, sod that. I don't believe that. I think it might work for certain industries, but I think if I have, I've heard the phrase, we're looking for passion in the founder more than any other phrase. Well, tick, got it, and don't be afraid to show it, because if you come across as cautious or hesitant or self-doubting, that's far more damaging. Definitely.
Yeah. So your advice to other female founders would be, obviously show your passion, show your confidence, but be yourself, be true to yourself.
Yeah, because again, you're trying to connect with investors, so if you get them, they will become part of your ecosystem, they will become part of your life, you'll be speaking to them a lot. So producing some shiny version of yourself for a 10-minute pitch that isn't you, or you're not comfortable with, is probably not the worst, and it probably won't work anyway, because they just don't, investors are quite smart. That's how they got there in the first place.
So be authentic. That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
I really like that advice. And I think, as you said, particularly for female founders who are not sure how should they act, how should they be through this process, which feels very foreign when you've never done this before.
I've met some amazing, successful female founders recently who are so different, and they get up on their podium and they don't say what you're expecting at all. They don't toe the party line of banality and sameness. They're actually really, really different and really quite challenging and controversial, and I love it when I see that. I'm like, great, go for it, girl. because you know that's qualities that when we as women watch them, we feel empathy and connection with. I'm not sure how the guys find it, but I think actually if we can keep each other supported and impressed with what each of us are doing, that authenticity as women, we also see through each other. So when you see someone being authentic, it actually resonates better and it creates a better support network for yourself. If you just turn up on the stage, you're not trying to be this polished princess who never ever puts a foot wrong, has got everything locked down, no one's going to empathise with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Cool.
So final question, what's next for you and Legal Beagles?
Artificial intelligence, baby. Yeah, it's the future is data. That's been our big transformation, and it's been a little bit crazy because all the time that I was raising that damn investment, I didn't know what my single most valuable asset was. I thought it was the site we were building. I mean, I knew it was Legal Beagles, of course, but I only saw that in a sort of black and white sense of traffic,
right,
and route to market. What I didn't realise is that the physical data on the forum itself, the 11 years of legal questions and answers generated by the community, in itself is a very, very valuable data set that can be used for training AI bots, can be used for discovering insights about the industry over the last 11 years. The loss of legal aid funding in 2012, you can overlay that across our data set and see impacts of those changes. And it's been just a really mind-blowing discovery, because I've gone from being obsessed with, you know, legal access to justice and the solicitors market and their fixed fees. That's what we were raising on with the investment round, and that's now just expanded enormously into the whole of the legal system in general and access to justice, and not necessarily sending people to a lawyer, because most people can't afford it. 8 out of 10 people don't use lawyers. So what we've been working on for the last year is the solution for that 80%, which is fingertip access at all times to free legal advice. I personally believe legal advice, first initial legal advice, should be like a human right. It astonishes me that these laws have been created over hundreds of years by our elected representatives for us, and yet we don't know how to use them. And I find that really bizarre, and a real disconnect in how society works. And every society that has a really healthy justice system, there's a direct correlation to their economy, a positive one. So this is a really big and important problem to solve, and can and will make a big difference. So it has massively expanded that we're going to be redeveloping Legal Beagles as an app with artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything that's ever been written on the forum and everything that's going to come forward on the forum. And it will provide a really clever signposting to consumers and small businesses to give them instant answers to legal questions.
That is unbelievable. That's incredible. The difference that you're going to make for millions of people with what you're doing, Kate, is incredible. And I think it's testament to those 11 years of work that you have put into the business, and your belief that you can make a difference without. What I love is that you didn't instantly think, how can I make money out of this business? Your business was driven by passion, by vision, and then the commercial side of it will follow.
It is, yes. This 2019 is going to be a great year for us, because if you think 2018 for me has been like the thinking year, the reassessment year. In the last few weeks, we've had confirmation from billion-pound companies that they want to buy our data. We're working with a global technology partner to put the AI in place. We recently, we're not kind of full through the final hurdles, but we're pretty much there. But we've recently secured government funding to support the AI project. And all of this has just been very helpful validation that we're going in the right direction. And so now, when I go out for my next investment round, I'm hoping to be looking at a value 4 to 6 times higher than our last round.
And your last round was 3.5 million?
3.5, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't see why you can't achieve that. I think that's very doable.
I think it can be. Yeah, I think it can be. Still got a few little bit, a few cards to get in place, and a few ducks in a row still to line up. It's a complicated process, but it's definitely shaping up that 2019 is going to be the year of revenue, year of proving the business model, and a lot of development work and a lot of AI.
Amazing. Oh, well, I have no doubt that you're going to be super successful, and that you're going to get that next funding round to help you scale. So thank you. Anyway, thank you so much, Kate, for sharing your journey. It's been fascinating, truly inspirational, some really brilliant nuggets of wisdom there for other people who are thinking about raising finance. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.